The movie opens up with a happily married couple, James and Cynthia Green, who have been trying to have a baby for a while now, but they haven't been successful. Cynthia, aka Cindy, works at a local museum, and James works at a pencil factory. After consulting with their doctor and trying all possible medical solutions, they are feeling defeated and are considering giving up on their dream of having a child of their own. Following this, Cindy gets really emotional about this situation and starts crying. She tells James that maybe it's time for them to move on, but the latter can't let go of the idea of having a child after dreaming about it for so long. He then convinces Cindy to imagine their perfect child one last time and write down all the qualities they wish for the child to have on paper. Taking out the notes, they write different adjectives on each one. They want their child to be honest, kind, good at soccer, and musically inclined. After writing all the points, the couple puts these notes in a wooden box and bury it in their garden. Feeling sad and frustrated, they return to their bedroom to sleep. However, as they try to sleep, they are suddenly awakened by a thunderstorm and heavy rain. While Cindy stays in bed, James goes to the kitchen for a drink. To his surprise, when he returns to the bedroom, he realizes that the bedsheet is covered in mud. Following this, both of them cautiously explore their house, searching for the mysterious presence. They hear music coming from upstairs and follow the sound. To their amazement, when they reach there, they find a muddy child playing with toys. After seeing them, the boy introduces himself as Timothy and says that he came from the garden. James looks out to the garden and notices the place they buried the box sometime before to be completely blown off. Next, Cindy tries to clean Timothy up, and during the process, she notices leaves growing on his legs. Cindy tries to pluck a leaf, but Timothy winces in pain. James notices something strange happening in the garden and calls the police, but he hangs up when he sees Cindy wants to show him something. In the garden, they find the wooden box they buried torn apart and the hole exposed. As they process this, police officers arrive, asking about James's call. James explains, but the officers laugh, thinking it only rained at their house. Confused, James covers the hole with mud again. Later in the kitchen, the couple have a conversation with Timothy. They suggest he can call them Mr. and Mrs. Green, but he surprises them by calling them Mom and Dad. Cindy and James talk privately and are very happy to have a child. Returning to the kitchen, they find Timothy asleep on the counter. Seeing this, they gently move him to the bed, feeling a mixture of shock, amazement, and a sense of new responsibilities. The next morning, everyone is still asleep when the doorbell rings. Surprisingly, Timothy wakes up and hurries to answer the door. He introduces himself to a woman, explaining that he came from the garden the previous night. Realizing that Timothy is talking to someone, Cindy and James quickly wake up and bring him back inside. The woman at the door turns out to be Cindy's sister, Brenda, who has come for their weekly family gathering. Inside, James takes off his socks and Cindy puts them on Timothy, reminding him to keep the details about the garden and his leaves a secret. They explain that most kids come from their mother's bellies, so he should keep the fact that he came from the garden a secret, as other children might not understand. They also let Timothy know that he will be meeting some new people, so he should be prepared. Later, they gather with their family for the get-together. James announces to their family that they have adopted Timothy. He explains that while everyone knew they were trying to have a child, Timothy's arrival was sudden and they hadn't had a chance to inform anyone. Brenda questions Cindy about why she didn't share anything earlier, and Cindy simply says it was sudden. After some snide remarks from Brenda, Cindy joins James and Timothy at the grill. They all enjoy a picnic and even play dodgeball. Cindy and James are worried about Timothy getting hit, but he doesn't seem bothered by it. At one point, a girl on a bicycle, Joni, catches Timothy's attention. While he's distracted, James's father accidentally hits him on the head with a dodgeball. In the next scene, Cindy and James take Timothy to a gardener named Reggie to try to trim his leaves. Unfortunately, the scissors break and the leaves can't be removed. Following this, Cindy and James enroll Timothy in the local school and drive him to his first day. They dress him in high-knee socks to hide his leaves and pack his bag with everything he might need. After dropping him off, they head to work. Unfortunately, Timothy gets bullied by a group of boys at school, but he does not react. To his surprise, Joni comes to his rescue and sends the boys away. Meanwhile, James and Cindy receive a call from the school, and they rush back to find Timothy covered in different substances. The principal informs them that Timothy won't share any names of the bullies, so they are called. After some coaxing, Timothy finally whispers something to James. Later that day, all three of them visit James's boss's house, as his children were the ones who bullied Timothy. The kids admit to their behavior, saying it wasn't fun because Timothy didn't react. As an apology, their mother quickly invites Timothy to a pool party they're having next week. Timothy agrees, excited to see the girl on the bicycle again, whom he had noticed at the school. The scene then shifts to the day of the party, when Timothy goes to his bully's house and finds Joni there. He decides to swim in the pool with her, but does not take off his socks. Timothy jumps into the pool, but doesn't resurface, making Joni concerned. She then jumps into the pool to rescue him. However, while trying to help, Joni grabs his leg and tries to remove his socks. Fearing that she might see his leaves, the latter accidentally kicks her in the head, and his first interaction with Joni doesn't go as he wanted. After returning from the party, James and Cindy ask Timothy about his day. He shares the incident with them and seeks their advice. James advises Timothy to avoid Joni and run the other way if he sees her. This strategy appears to work, albeit with a twist. Now Joni is chasing after Timothy. She follows him into the woods and stops him, showing him a red mark on her shoulder, suggesting that she also has a secret. After this, they find common ground and seem to get along well. Cindy and James notice them spending time together and become worried, thinking it might be too soon for them to be getting so friendly. On another day, Timothy lies on the ground for a while, and when he stands up, one of his leaves falls off. He quickly collects the leaf and puts it in an envelope, writing Joni's name on it. Later, when they return home, Cindy and James inform Timothy that they need to go to the hospital because Uncle Bob, Cindy's uncle, is sick and admitted. At the hospital, after talking to the family, Uncle Bob asks if Timothy can stay with him for a while. James and Cindy reluctantly agree, only to see Uncle chatting and sharing jokes with Timothy. However, his condition suddenly worsens and he dies. Right then, a leaf from Timothy's leg falls and he hides it from everyone. In the next scene, Cindy and James approach a football coach to discuss Timothy joining the soccer team. Initially hesitant, the coach agrees after Cindy talks to him again. Timothy joins the team, but fails to even kick the ball. Back at home, James helps Timothy practice soccer and they talk about girls. The couple is trying to keep their child away from Joni. In the next scene, James has work problems at the pencil factory and returns home with a sad face. At dinner, when Timothy tries to make a joke, James asks him to stop, explaining he's not in the mood. Later, Cindy and Timothy surprise James with a candlelight dinner and a basket of fruit. Their gesture lifts his spirits, and they discuss their ideas for manufacturing a new pencil, which becomes a bonding project for them. The following day, Cindy takes Timothy to her workplace to keep an eye on him. But when he makes a sketch of her boss, his honesty costs her the job. Cindy defends Timothy's actions and speaks candidly to her boss, leading to her dismissal. On the other hand, James notices his boss upset and introduces the new pencil idea. He places the pencil on his boss's desk and leaves quietly as his boss is on a call. Amidst everything, Cindy becomes increasingly concerned about Timothy spending time with Joni. She decides to follow Joni one day and enters the woods to talk to her. She explains that Timothy is different and she won't allow anyone to hurt him. However, Joni ignores her words and moves forward. Soon, they arrive at the place where the kids hang out, and Cindy is surprised to see the beautiful area they've created with fallen leaves. Joni reveals that Timothy helped her to create it. Seeing this, Cindy realizes her misjudgment about Joni and acknowledges that she means no harm to Timothy. In the following scene, after Cindy mentions that Timothy is great at music, Brenda calls the boy onto the stage to showcase his musical skills. Though Timothy does not know how to play an instrument, Cindy and James join him on stage, creating a memorable performance. Later, back at home, as they put Timothy to sleep, they express how proud they are of him. They dance happily outside his room, knowing that Timothy embodies the qualities they had written down and will likely achieve success. Meanwhile, another leaf from Timothy's legs falls off. He quietly places another fallen leaf on his bedside table and turns off the light. The scene then shifts to the day of the final football match, where James stops his father from leaving, insisting he watch the match. Cindy expresses her concerns to James, wondering how Timothy can score if he isn't allowed to play. James then talks to the coach, but initially he doesn't agree to let Timothy play. During the match, two students collide, and one from Timothy's team has to be benched. This opens up the opportunity for Timothy to join the game. The coach tells Timothy to stay in a specific spot, which frustrates James. He tries to motivate Timothy from the sidelines, but Timothy remains static. However, when Timothy spots Joni standing on the sidelines cheering for him, his motivation kicks in. At that moment, the ball comes his way, and he's ready to play with newfound enthusiasm. Timothy begins running with the ball on the soccer field, dodging the players. James and Cindy are overjoyed and proudly share their child's soccer prowess with others. As Timothy runs with the ball, he kicks it with all his might, sending it into the goalpost. However, he accidentally scores a goal for the opposing team, leading to their team's loss. Returning home, they all feel disheartened, and another leaf falls from Timothy's leg. In his room changing clothes, Timothy hears James and Cindy arguing in the kitchen. Concerned, he goes to the kitchen to intervene, but they apologize and promise to do better as parents. Upset by their arguing, Timothy decides not to tell them something he had intended to share. In the following days, a town meeting takes place regarding the potential closure of the pencil factory. James's boss tries to defend the company and reveals that they've created another pencil using leaves and tries to credit his son. However, Timothy takes the microphone to acknowledge that his parents made the pencil. To confirm the creator, Cindy's boss asks about the motivation behind creating the pencil. And while James's boss fails to say a word, Timothy's parents share the story of his unique legs, showing them to everyone. At first, everyone gets shocked, yet believes them. Here they see that Timothy has only one leaf left on his legs. In the next scene, while returning home, Timothy and his parents experience a strong wind, and they realize Timothy knows something about it. They ask him, and he explains that as the leaves fall, his time is limited. He hadn't told them earlier because there was nothing they could do. Right then, the final leaf falls, leaving James and Cindy speechless. Timothy reveals that they are ready to adopt a child, hugs his parents, and suddenly disappears with an intense lightning. Devastated, Cindy and James go outside and dig up the hole again. To their surprise, they find the box with a letter from Timothy inside. In the letter, he explains that he gave his leaves to the people he encountered, as they were kind to him. He expresses his belief that they will be wonderful parents and assures them that he loves them. After some time, James and Cindy visit an adoption center. They share their story with the lady there about Timothy and their readiness to be parents. In the last scene, a car arrives at their house with people from the adoption center, bringing a little girl named Millie. The movie then ends with Cindy and James introducing themselves and welcoming Millie into their home.